Welcome to the 2023 SUS CP Conference, the Edge of Opportunity podcast from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. The Southeastern United States Canadian Provinces, or SUS CP Alliance, was established in 2007 to formally advance a common interest in enhancing economic ties between the two regions. The Alliance is a strategic trade and investment-focused partnership between 6 southeastern U.S. states and 6 Canadian provinces. This year's conference is focused on opportunities in the blue and green economies.
SUS CP 2023 podcast. I want to tell you, we're having a great time here. I'm Alan Dale. With me, as always, my good buddy Jerry Crew, and we are Gale Force Winds. A lot of collaboration happening in here around the conference. A lot of people talking, a lot of people looking to do business together in a collaborative way. It's great to have you on the podcast. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you do?
I am Jennifer Williams, and I'm the CEO for Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro.
Great. And Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro, tell me the business you're in. Tell me what the model is.
So the model is we are a Crown Corporation, so we obviously are owned by the people of the province. Very proud to be part of that organization. So we deliver electricity all across the province, from the places the most remote in Labrador, right all through the island, right down here into St. John's. So we have a lot of generation, about 8,000 megawatts of generation, and about 10,000 kilometers of both transmission and distribution lines, and about 1,500 incredible employees.
Now, Newfoundland Hydro, I'm sure, an ever-evolving entity. Tell me what's on the horizon for Newfoundland Hydro that we should be aware of.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what our most recent history is. We just integrated the last step of the process in one of the most recent projects in Canada for new electricity supply. So Muskrat Falls and the Labrador Island Link are now officially commissioned and online. We're delivering, I think, almost 300 megawatts to Nova Scotia today. We're delivering power into the island. In 2022, we finished the year with almost 92% clean electricity. Obviously, we're supplying huge amounts into Quebec through Churchill Falls. So on the horizon for us is getting ready for even more electricity supply, which we have an abundance of clean sources here, so we're very lucky. So we basically have to now build our system out to move parts of our economy that are not currently on electricity to move it into electricity supply, and we've got clean electricity sources available to us to do that.
Joe, we just had the Premier on not an hour ago, and he talked about Newfoundland and Labrador poised as being that energy giant of the future. Exciting for you, but I'm sure also daunting to figure out, okay, how are we going to manage all this?
Yeah, best job in the province, and just incredible people that I work with. I really do consider it an honor to work with the people I work with every day. They are some of the smartest people I've ever met and the most resilient. We've had a few bumps and bruises over the past, but man, you get incredibly thick skins, and you can just power, pardon the pun, you can power through anything and solve any problem. I mean, we've just expanded our system by 10%. I mean, that's no small feat, and we have less people in the organization than we did before that. So, we're a group of people who can pretty much take on any challenge and bring it to fruition. So we're really pleased with how we've been doing, delivering great net income in 2022, and we're headed into even more growth into the future with the clean electricity demands that our public policymakers have set for us.
Now, I know you're passionate about electric vehicles, as am I. We both drive EVs.
Yep.
Tell me about the electrification of the province as, like, for example, even just vehicles come online more and more. How does that look?
So as the electricity provider who has to plan for all of the electrification, both of that's coming from electric vehicles, but that's coming from home heat conversions too. Right. They're seeing significant growth in the electricity sector for people converting from fossil fuel sources onto clean electricity sources. So we have to monitor and help government with public policy on what they should do to electrify and what do those programs look like. So there's, I think, about 40,000 homes in the province to convert from oil to electric. That's a significant increase in demand. And there's, I think, about 360,000 cars in this province that could be converted to electric. We're at just the very beginning. But every year when we do an estimate of how many vehicles are converting, the previous estimate is too low. So every single year, so the actual estimates are growing all the time. So how we're doing things to get ready for that is we're putting in charging stations. We're working with Newfoundland Power on that, and we're understanding how do we manage our electricity demand as a company associated with that. So there's a lot of work to come with regards to electrification.
More and more storms coming in our part of the world. Nova Scotia just in the last couple of days, or hurricane, and not so many months before that. Building resiliency into your world must be ever present. Tell me how you're preparing for climate change as we look at it.
Yeah, I think it's twofold, right? You hit it out nail on the head. One is you have to prepare for increasing demand because people are moving off fossil fuel sources of energy. But then climate change is actually changing things. I mean, we've had in the last year or so significant ice storms that have affected customers in Labrador. Interestingly, as an interconnected electricity system, the recent fires in Quebec have actually caused transmission lines to trip from Quebec into Labrador, so we're being impacted by fires in Quebec from an electricity sector perspective. So, how you have to take each one of those incidents, analyze what do we need to do into the future, and then as a regulated utility, when you come up with a solution for what that looks like, you then have to go to your regulator and talk about that very publicly, very transparently. Here's the information we have, here's how things are changing, we want to proceed with this solution, and then the Public Utilities Board and the interveners get to test us and check and say, are we really sure that we agree with all the things that you're factoring in there? And then we move forward then really as a province and all of you together, as opposed to us just saying we're doing this and forging ahead. So there's a lot to getting ready for resilience or the load growth, but all of it can be very much publicly tested at the regulator, which is great and should be assuring for customers.
I mean, you're providing a vital service to our province, and you must have an incredible team to support you and to kind of continue that service day in and day out. Your service doesn't shut down.
No.
You're going around the clock. Tell me about the team and what they mean to you.
Well, I think for us, and I was just on a panel, and that was one of the things I said, is that everyone kind of takes it for granted, and we don't need the accolades, but when the lights go out, we all burst into action. And you're working all day anyway, but then when the lights go out, I mean, everyone is just there. You do not have to ask twice anybody to come, and most people are monitoring it all themselves. And again, we're from the farthest reaches, from the smallest communities, remote diesel, often, for example, in like storm situations, you've got people that are on the ground, they don't have 10 engineers and all kinds of different people in those communities. These people have to do everything. Same thing when you have the big bulk electricity system. We've got people all over the province that have to jump in and address what these issues are. Very rarely do you get to rely on just a couple of people. You have to rely on dozens of people. So they're just amazing. They really are. And it's kind of like healthcare, right? It's often a thankless job. So we don't come into these jobs for the glory or to be thanked all the time. So we do our best to try to let people know how valued they are, because we know they are. And we do get some quiet folks that will say thank you to us. So I do my best to make sure the employees hear that too. But I think, a job well done is when people go home and go home safe.
Well, you know what? It's incredible what you do. It's heroic what your team is doing. I mean, the light goes out on a Christmas tree. How the hell do you fix that damn thing?
Right.
You've got such geography. And the remoteness, I've seen your team on snowmobiles going out in snowstorms.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I was just out with a team last week. They were doing live line training. So this is training on 230,000 volts. I mean, when you're home, switching out, a little switch plate at your house, you should be very careful. These folks are climbing the poles that you see, and that they are putting their hands on 230,000 volts.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. One of them recently made the comment to me that they almost feel better working on the live line, because when you're in an outage situation, when you're, say, taking a line out to do maintenance, power could be out for customers, and there's that urgency, get the power back on, get the power back on, there's that kind of pressure. When you're doing live line work, you can work, and you know what I mean? They say it's actually almost safer sometimes to work on this live line, but I'm still sitting there watching these folks with the gear they got to have on, the training that have got to go through, the daily planning. They got to make sure the wind is right, they got to make sure the humidity is correct, but then they climb these poles and touch these wires. It is, it's kind of mind-blowing to watch happen, but to watch the pride that they feel when they're doing this. They're happy that you came to see the work that they do, so that's pretty special.
I bet it is. I mean, as Jerry so rightly points out, that's vital work to the province, and we take it for granted. You click that switch up and There's a whole team
Yep.
behind that, right? It's
Yep.
not as simple as that. Well done for keeping the lights on in the
Yeah, I'll
province.
pass
right?
that on to the team.
Yeah, well, and to you as well, right? A team, of course, and acknowledging all that effort, but it takes strong leadership too, and you guys are providing that. Well done. Thanks for joining us on the
Thank you.
podcast.
Glad to be here. Thank
Jennifer,
you.
it's an absolute pleasure to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Keep
You
up
too.
the good work.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the 2023 SEUS CP Conference, the Edge of Opportunity podcast from St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. The 2024 conference is taking place in Biloxi, Mississippi, and we look forward to seeing you there.